Yesterday, we had Dr. Walt Larimore share with us in our devotional time about obesity and talked about that. And I want us to continue looking at the physical aspect of our health and how we can develop a healthy lifestyle. Walt, thank you so much. Let me continue where we left off yesterday when we were talking about obesity, and you left off talking about rest. With young families, I find this is really a very difficult thing. A man is going to work, he's got a family, you've got little kids waking up in the middle of the night. How does he deal with rest and getting the proper amount of rest?
With young children, it can be a huge problem. But if there's one thing that disturbs family unity, family meals, and family rest more than anything else, it's that monster of the screen. The television screen, the video game screen, the smartphone screen. The screen occupies huge amounts of time. In fact, the Kaiser Health Foundation just released a study showing that the average child in America, spends 10 hours per day of total media time. It's huge.
And that also affects the exercise. Kids used to be out in the yard playing. I grew up, we'd have track meets in the summer, make up our own track meets, and we had bamboo poles and doing all sorts of things. And we were out there running and playing, and today they're at the screen. And not only that, but at work, how do we get away from that? This is a lifestyle change, and we've talked about it. So how do you make that lifestyle change?
You've got to decide that that's going to be important, that family's going to be more important than that screen. It means turning off those devices. Now, it may not be totally turning them off, but beginning that process of cutting back, of understanding there's no screen time, none, not 1 minute that's healthy for a child 2 years of age or less. And as children are over age 2, no more than 2 hours. As they increase their screen time, every measurable health concern goes down. And so for our families, turning off that television during our family meal time, of cutting back on it, maybe even taking a week without it. What the research shows is that as we turn off that screen, we begin to turn on family relationships, and that can increase health.
One of the things that I struggled with, quite honestly, that I found was that I come in from a long day at work and tired, and I didn't want my mind to function. So it's so easy to then, say, oh, I'm watching. But then what happens is, instead of just watching the news, I find myself going the whole evening watching. So what would you say to a guy, and probably a lot of guys are just like I was, and we made some changes, but what would you say to a guy?
Well, the DVR is one good technology because you can skip the commercials. You can watch a 30-minute program in 18 minutes with the DVR. It also allows you to select ahead what you're going to look at as a family or as a couple. Of all the options you have, beginning to narrow that down and making your time and your family time more of a priority, increasing that, decreasing the screen time over time to become more highly healthy.
And one thought I just had as you were sharing that is a man and a woman can go out for a walk, and great time just to get away from everybody and everything and just share their hearts, what's happened during the day.
Or with the kids, some one-on-one time. Families will talk about that quality time with the kids, but what they fail to remember is that quality time with kids and quality times with a spouse only occurs within quantity time. You cannot program it, you can't preset it, you've got to devote to it. And maybe that's why Scripture teaches, even way back in the book of Deuteronomy, that we're to spend time teaching our children. And that's time in the morning, time in the evening, time through the day.
The principle, I guess, is the same as the food principle. We switch out foods. Instead of my chocolate chips, I have grapes for snack. And the same thing, we switch out some of that screen time for family time and doing things together.
I'll tell you a real short story. When Kate, our oldest, turned 6, my daddy called because he was concerned about how much time I was spending at work. And all he said, Sammy, was this. He said, "Congratulations." I said, "For what?" He said, "1/3 of your life with her is over." As a 6-year-old, 1/3 of your life with her is gone. And boy, God really convicted me that I needed to begin to spend time. I cut back my work time. I increased the kiddo time. I gave Kate a half a day. I gave Scott a half a day. It was just their time. Made less income, brought less home, but spent more time with them. Kate, when she became an adult, told a large conference, I went to hear her speak, and she said, "Daddy gave me lots of presents at Christmas, on birthdays, Easter, holidays. I don't remember very many of them, but the one thing I do remember was when he gave me the gift of himself. I'll never forget that." And I hope that our listeners will remember that principle.
One thing that I would encourage you to do is to take a look at your schedule, your time, and reprioritize. That's perhaps the greatest change that you'll make. An investment of your time into your family is an investment of your life, the greatest investment you'll ever make.